Let's bring in Francesca Albanese, United Nations Special Rapporteur on the occupied Palestinian territories. Francesca, thank you very much for being here. The UN Human Rights Office has recently found that close to 70% of people killed in Gaza are women and children. Given the high number of civilian casualties, do you think Israel has violated international laws? And what does the international community need to do to ensure civilians are protected?
Hi, thanks for having me. Interestingly, this ratio, 70% of the victims in Gaza being women and children, has been a constant. This is something that I have reported in statements signed with other special rapporteurs since November, December, January last year. But also when I concluded in March this year that there were reasonable grounds to believe that Israel was committing acts of genocide, this is the figure that appeared in my report. 70% of the victims were women and children. And so 1 year and 1 month later, here we are. Clearly, the death toll among civilians is unprecedented, and there is not a norm of international humanitarian law, the law of armed conflicts, that has not been violated here. There has been starvation, mass destruction of civilian infrastructure, attacks of civilian premises, hospitals, schools, universities. Everything has been pretty much destroyed. So this 45,000 people killed needs to be also analyzed in the context of a widespread destruction that is not casual. This is the outcome of an intended policy that Israel has put in place as of early October last year, and has led to the conclusion of many, including myself, that Israel has committed acts of genocide in Gaza.
You have been very critical of Israel in this war and also critical of Canada's response. How do you believe Canada has failed?
Well, I would like to requalify this statement because, of course, I'm critical of Israel's conduct and I've been critical of Israel's conduct since the beginning of my mandate because it was maintaining a 57-year-old unlawful occupation, which has translated into racial segregation and apartheid, according to the International Court of Justice, which has ordered the occupation to be dismantled, basically, according to the General Assembly, by September next year. I mean, of course, my position toward Canada is different because this is not a country under my monitoring and reporting. But still, Canada has obligations under international law that, in my assessment, are not met. Because Canada should have suspended all arms relations and including trade. The fair trade agreements is not in compliance with international law, in my assessment, in light of the International Court of Justice conclusions as of January and February. The states are on notice that Israel is plausibly committing acts of genocide. So any interaction with the state of Israel should be assessed against the risk that Israel has committed genocide. Canada has a record of doing the right thing, of complying with international law. When it came to Myanmar, Canada has been very forceful in making sure that there is justice over the victims of the Myanmar genocide in the Rohingya. It has imposed the sanctions on Myanmar and so on Russia for its aggression of Ukraine. Canada is a country that has taken a robust stand against the US position when invading Iraq, and Canada has taken steps against taken measures against apartheid South Africa later than the people of Canada would have wanted. But so it's interesting to see that this time Canada seems to have forgotten what compliance with international law means.
Now, there is another side to this, which Israel says that its operations in Gaza are aimed at eradicating Hamas and getting hostages back. It says it has the right to defend itself. Canada has said very similar, so as the U.S. What is your take on this?
And I find this extremely dehumanizing. I mean, I understand why Israel is saying that this is self-defense, because it's justifying the violence that is leading to the destruction of Gaza. It's also very clear what is the intent of Israel. I said it 1 year ago, on 14th October. I said here the real intention is gain territory of Gaza by forcibly displacing the Palestinians. And this is happening. It's of yesterday, the news that Israel doesn't intend to let the Palestinians from northern Gaza return. This is further annexation, including in Gaza. This is what Israel has been doing over the past decade. But it's interesting because what Canada has to do with it? Why does Canada have to support this? Because under international law, what Israel is doing is not self-defense. You cannot invoke self-defense against people you maintain under occupation, especially over 1 year. Plus, we cannot confuse the motives with intent. Israel is claiming to want to liberate the hostages, but how is it doing that? By bombing and destroying everything in Gaza. How are the hostages going to get out alive of Gaza with the hell that has been caused, has been brought upon that land? And also, these motives do not rule out the main intent, which is the critical element to identify genocide. Intent is not a motive. Intent is the determination to destroy. And destruction has been brought upon the Palestinians. Clearly, it's evident from the satellite, from what comes from Gaza, from the reports of dozens UN organizations and Israeli and Palestinian organizations. It's just about to accept that this is the reality. And the rest, I'm sorry to say, but they are fabrications.
That is our time. We will have to leave it there. Francesca, thank you very much for being here. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
That is Francesca Albanese, United Nations Special Rapporteur on Palestine.